You know what, I was taking a look at my hard drive, and I noticed that I have a ton of Habs gameplay. Lots and lots of Habs. There's a lot of Canucks because I'm a Canucks guy. There's a little bit of Leafs because I haven't been playing my Leafs GM mode in a while, but I do make a lot of videos about the Leafs sometimes. But the Habs have a huge storing in my hard drive as well. So let's talk a little bit more about the Habs and what they've got in their prospect pool, because there's a very interesting name who's available in this year's draft, who will most likely be available at 15th overall when the Montreal Canadiens are making their pick. Obviously, I'm talking about Ryan Suzuki. What if the Montreal Canadiens drafted Ryan Suzuki into their organization after they acquired Nick Suzuki in that Max Pacioretty trade just a few months ago? Nick Suzuki, starting things off, the guy who's already with the Habs, is a 5'11", 183-pound center who can also play on the wing. He's a very talented, skilled, shifty OHL player who put up 94 points in 59 games played. He initially played for Owen Sound. He got 45 points in 30 games, but he got traded over to the Guelph Storm and got 49 points in 29 games there. So he's at 94 points, 59 games played. He had a really good season last year with the Owen Sound attack, 100 points in 64 games, so roughly the same projection. In his draft year in 2016-17, he had basically the same thing too, 96 points in 65 games played. So Suzuki, as a 19-year-old in the OHL, has been really consistent his past 3 years, and it's kind of funny because in his draft year he did get 96 points in 65 games. Ryan Suzuki is only at 75 points in 65 games played for the Barrie Colts this season in his draft year. Now, obviously that's not bad. It's really good that a 17-year-old guy was able to get 75 points in 65 games played. It's just that Nick had a little bit more production in terms of that year. Ryan Suzuki, though, is a guy who's projected to go around the teens, let's just say. It's really hard because the earliest some guys have him going is 12th, and a lot of other guys have him going as late as 20, 21, 22. So Ryan Suzuki could really go in the teen range, maybe drop off a little bit into the late teens, early 20s, but there's one thing that is certain, it's that he'll probably be there when the Montreal Canadiens select 15th overall. Ryan is a 6', 176-pound center. So him and Nick are both listed as centers. It's just that Nick has played the right wing spot too. He will most likely be starting on the wing with the Montreal Canadiens, seeing as Deneau, Kotkaniemi, Domi, and Paling, they all exist too. So assuming Nick Suzuki makes the team next year, which it's not too far-fetched now, isn't it? He's a very highly touted prospect, and he has skill, so he'll probably give a good showing for the team. Assuming he does make the team, he'll probably be on the wing. So Ryan Suzuki is a guy who is a bigger center. He's not as shifty. I don't want to say he's as good at skating as Nick is. Nick is a little bit more quicker on his feet than Ryan, but Ryan is a little bit better in terms of using his body and the smarts. It's still there with Ryan. They both have the same hockey IQ and the same sense. They're both really smart players. So if the Montreal Canadiens were to use their draft pick on Ryan Suzuki, it wouldn't be too far-fetched of a pick at all, because Ryan is projected to go in that range. The only debate is to whether or not the Canadiens would need a guy like Ryan Suzuki, because they already do have that center depth on their team. So overall, I don't necessarily know if that's the best decision, but it's one that certainly could not be faulted. Now, when it comes to the Montreal Canadiens and the draft, they do need left-handed defenders. They need wingers. They need guys like that. And there will be defenders on the board at that spot for sure. But at the same time, we've seen the Montreal Canadiens use a lot of their later picks in the drafts on really good defenders going forward. Josh Brooks, he was not a top talent. Romanov was not a top talent. So It's been shown in the past that the Montreal Canadiens do have the ability to take good defenders later in the draft. Whether or not you want to use your first-round pick this year on one of those, it's up to you. But Ryan Suzuki is available on the board, and if he does come to Montreal, it would be amazing if you moved Nick Suzuki to the wing, have Ryan at center, maybe get rid of the Domi thing on center, I don't know. You do have a lot of centers on Montreal already, so you're going to have to find a way to fit Ryan Suzuki into your center core. But if you had Ryan Suzuki as center and Nick Suzuki as the right wing on the same line, man, that sounds really cool now, doesn't it? Nick Suzuki actually played at the World Juniors, and he was pretty solid over there. He only had 3 assists in 5 games, but the World Juniors this year, there were a lot of players who probably had a lot more talent than their point total suggested. Ryan Suzuki is playing for the U18s right now, and he has 0 points in the 2 games that he's played, but he's been playing very limited minutes. He hasn't really been playing all that much. He just came back from an injury, and he's been scratched a few times too, so he hasn't really had the best showing. But overall, the Suzuki brothers do have talent, and they do have hockey IQ, they do have smarts, and they do have goal-scoring, assist-making abilities. Ryan is noted more as a pass-first kind of guy, whereas Nick does have the ability to bury the puck a little bit more than Ryan does, in my opinion. So, overall, it's just a matter of who you want to take, and if the Montreal Canadiens do go with Ryan Suzuki, you're really getting a player who does project to be a top 9, middle 6 kind of guy down the line, and who could potentially reach an elite ceiling if everything goes right. And I think the same could be said about Nick, so overall, I'd be really cool if Montreal drafted Ryan, man. That would be extraordinarily cool going forward, especially with the whole brother connection. Everybody loves seeing a pair of brothers find themselves on the same team. Cough, cough, we should have done that with Jack Hughes, Vancouver. But, yeah. It's all cool. It's all cool. And I like talking about these prospects. I like talking about prospects in general because I'm personally a huge sucker for the future of the NHL and the potentials and everything. So this was a nice little commentary, I guess, talking about Ryan Suzuki. What if he went over to the Habs? Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Social links in the gaming. And bye.